So what we have here on the bench is a iPad Air, and as you can see it has a cracked digitizer. So what I'm actually going to be doing is replacing that digitizer so we can get it back up and running again. Now I will say straight away, this is the first time I've attempted a iPad Air, and apparently one of the hardest things with this model is actually getting it started. There's not a lot of room between the side here of the bezel and the digitizer itself, so it's actually quite flush. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try and get it started with a Stanley knife blade, box cutter blade here. Hopefully get that in the side down there and get it started so I can actually get in there with a proper spudger. Also I have one of these dent removal tools, and it's actually mechanical, so you pull this back and it actually sucks up, and it's really quite strong. So I'm going to place that on the iPad, so I'll be pulling up with this and actually pushing down with this, and hopefully a combination of the two I should start to actually get it working and coming away from that chassis. So what I'm going to do is apply some heat. I'm going to use a high powered hairdryer and get it warmed up, so hopefully it'll be a little bit more malleable and it'll start coming away from that chassis. So use my dent puller, about there, and I'm going to try and get in on this edge first, mainly because I know there's no cables underneath it and it's quite a big piece of glass. So I've now got this blade just in there, and I tell you, it is really tight. I don't want to go in too far. Try and get a pick under there now. There we go, that's better. So a little bit more heat seems to have helped it a bit. I can see this being an extremely slow process. I mean, I normally say give yourself half a day for doing something like this, but this, I can see it's going to come off in little pieces. In fact, you want to give yourself a full day if you're going to try this yourself. It's all about taking your time. You're probably not picking this up on camera that well, but this tool is helping a great deal. Using the upward force of this and pushing down with the pick, it's the only way of making headway. You see it's starting to come away, but because of all the cracks I can see it coming off in little pieces. So now I'm going to get in and try and start to come away here. I don't want to lift this broken piece of glass off before I actually want to, because I don't want to damage the LCD underneath. So I've just gone ahead and cut some pieces of card. It's cereal box thickness, just to replace the picks to stop the digitizer sticking itself back down. And I'm getting a lot of sticky residue building up on my picks, so it's a good idea to keep stopping and cleaning that off, because it'll just build up and make life a lot harder. And it really is slow going. Just keep stopping, applying more heat as you need it, And the way this one is fractured around here, it's in so many small pieces, it's going to take a long time just to get round this bit here. And I don't know if you can get a smaller one of these, but this really did help on the far side here, where I could get a good vacuum suction connection. But if you could get a real small one of these and work on these other areas, it really would help. So I've come round to this point here, round quite close to the home button, and I'm going to stop working there for the moment, because as you can see, it's all going to be little bits. That's going to take quite a while to get all that glass off. So I've come back over to this corner, and I've come down here just past the camera, and I've got a big piece here so I can use my pulling tool, and I'm going to start working around here. And of course, around this area here, you've got some flat flex cables for the buttons on here, and you've also around here got the Wi-Fi antenna, so you've got to be really careful of that, and don't push your tools in too far. So as you can see here, it's really slow process, the point of the crack here, which is around the home button, and the process of getting all those little shards of glass off, it is extremely time consuming, but I've got it to a point now where I can flex it a little bit, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat all this part here and see if I can get enough movement to actually start to peel it back that way, away from me, in that direction. I'm just being really gentle, and I can feel it teasing away from that chassis. I'm going to stop and apply a little bit more heat there. So being real careful here, because that's the home button connection, and we don't want to rip that out. Gently tease that home button off. So we've actually got it released, so what I'm going to do now is remove the LCD, and that will allow us to unplug that digitizer, get it out of the way, remove the LCD, put it somewhere safe, and then we can actually work on the sides here and clean it up, ready for the new digitizer, get rid of all that glass, get some rubbing alcohol on there and give it a good clean. So the LCD is connected in this area here with a ribbon cable, so once you get the screws out, some of the sticky tape residue may be still slightly holding the LCD in place, so what you want to do is just gently rock it on the corners. Don't apply any force at all, because it really is a fragile LCD. So gently tease it out, don't force anything. And just fold it away from you and up. So the LCD is actually connected here, so we've got to remove those Phillips screws, and then we can pop it out from its connectors under there and put this to one side nice and safe, and then we can get rid of this digitizer, keep the home button and the camera lens because I have to fit those to my new digitizer. It doesn't come with them. So just get a plastic pry tool and gently pull that can away, and it's come with the connector still connected to that can. So I'll put this to one side, and the digitizer again, just pop these up. So we can pop that to one side, and we can just remove the parts that we actually need to transplant onto our new digitizer. So now it's just a matter of going around the chassis and getting rid of all those little pieces of glass and tidying up the ribbon cable for the home button. So I've just spent quite a bit of time, probably the best part of an hour, cleaning all that residue off there, and what I'm going to do now is give it a final rub with some alcohol, let that evaporate, and then we should have a nice surface to stick our new double-sided tape down to. Now sometimes I've had the digitizers delivered and the actual tape is already stuck down to the size of the digitizer, but when like this one it comes on a separate piece of card and you've got to put them on yourself, I find it a lot easier to actually put them onto the chassis rather than directly onto the digitizer, because otherwise it's nearly impossible to get them lined up properly. So to get it all back together again, it's just a reversal of how we took it apart. So we need to connect the digitizer up first before the LCD, and then you have to hold the LCD at a right angle to support it and click that connector in place. And it can be a little bit fiddly, but don't force it. And if you remember, this can was actually stuck to the LCD, but I took it off because it makes it a little bit easier lining that back up again. And before you actually stick it down permanently, it's a good idea to just lay it over the top, make sure all those ribbon cables are lying where they should so it's all nice and flush, and also turn it on and give it a quick test. And one thing we have to do before we actually put the digitizer in place is this ribbon here actually has some double-sided tape on it, or it should have, because that needs to be folded back on itself and runs along this side here. And now that we're happy with that, what I'm going to do is give the LCD one last final clean, remove all the backing tape from this double-sided tape around the sides, and there's also a plastic insert on the inside to keep fingerprints off, so we'll do that very last. To get that side lined up first, then slowly bring it down. Use a soft cloth just to get it seated, and apply pressure to the sides. So I hope you found that useful. And one last thing I want to note is, if you've dropped your iPad on the corner of the chassis, then you would have to ground that out before fitting a new digitizer. And just doubly make sure, really take your time, that you get every little piece of glass out and all that side bezel is clean so it sits nice and flush. Otherwise you can end up just cracking the new digitizer. So I hope I've saved you some money there, and you don't mind having a go, and you've got the confidence to do it yourself. It is difficult. I would say it's probably an 8 out of 10 for difficulty, but I think the main thing is just patience and really taking your time. So again, if you found it useful, give it a thumbs up, and hopefully I'll see you on the next one.